Shut up and sit down.
Welcome to the Big Blue Offensive Podcast with Mike Trainer, Jay Jules, and John Depot. Welcome.
Hey, what's up, Giants fam? Welcome to the Big Blue Offensive Podcast. I'm Mike. We are on vacation this week, so we decided to hook you guys up with an episode from our old network that we used to be on, our highest rated episode, actually. So enjoy that, and we'll be back next week. So on behalf of Jules and John, see you in a few days. Peace.
Hey, what's up, Giants fam? Welcome to the Big Blue Offensive Podcast. I'm Mike. That's Jules. That's John. We are back from a nice little vacation, man. Nice to be back, though. I hope you guys enjoyed that vacation episode last week at the Sex Doll. I'm sure you did. But now we are back. We're going to, training camps like right here. It's starting this week. We're us three. We're going to decide to go we're going to give our starters on the offensive side of the ball. Look, what we think the starters should be. Like, I got a few surprises here and there. I'm sure these guys got some surprises, but guys, how was your vacation, man? How was the vacation from the show? Jules, I know you're somewhere else, and you're not
on vacation. I've been everywhere, bro. I'm the only person that could be in the most northern part of New York State. And for those of you that are listening, I think New York, you don't. All right, because every time you say that, people are like, where are you? In Rochester or Buffalo? You're like, no, bro. This shit is upstate New York. Like, literally up there, all you got is beautiful scenery, lakes, trees, windmills, those turbines, prisons, and roads. That's fucking it. And then you see the Canadian border, right? Oh, there's fucking prisons up there, dude. There's prisons fucking everywhere up there. It's crazy, man. But then I literally flew down to Fort Lauderdale right after from there.
That's
so
awesome.
I went down the whole fucking eastern seaboard, basically. And now I'm in Florida.
That's where you are now, right?
That's where I am now.
Florida.
Florida. Good old Jupiter.
That's pretty awesome. But going back to these prisons, man, what happened if there's an escape and shit, and then they just they're gonna find you because there's probably 5 houses near a prison, and
that's
you
exactly
probably
what I
live
was
in
thinking. They made that show Dannemora.
Yeah.
Right on HBO and shit. That's what's up there. I drove through Dannemora, right? And literally, there's nothing up there. And then when you get to these little small towns up there, bro, everybody fucking knows everybody. They're it's like that show. You remember when Mr. D's, that movie where they're like, oh, this is Rachel. She's fucking Jody's grandmother's kid, granddaughter. They all fucking know you like that up there, man. You got 2 people escaping from a fucking prison. First of all, where you going? It's nothing but open fields and fucking water and trees and shit. And then little towns where everybody fucking knows everybody. Good luck with that one.
Longfellow, Jules.
They don't call it going upstate for nothing. You know what I mean?
That's the Mr. D's reference right there. Longfellow, Jules. That's some scary shit.
From that shit to South Florida. It was 2 fucking different worlds.
Yeah, that's 2 extremes, man. I tell you, you're doing well balancing that shit out.
It hasn't been easy. I think my fucking equilibrium's been off for about a month for the last 2 weeks. I'll have a beer and I'm I'm kind of drunk. It's just been 1 beer, but I'm kind of feeling good.
Man,
nice.
John, how was your vacation, man? You do anything?
Nothing crazy, man. Just kind of enjoying the summer. It's been hot as fuck out, and if it's not hot, we have some kind of Category 5 thunderstorm going on outside, which has been pretty wild. But Sunday was pretty cool. I went with my brother and my father. We took the cars. And if you guys ever want to go to a just random place that has a ridiculous steakhouse, 3 Oak Steakhouse in Easton, Pennsylvania. So as a Father's Day gift to my father, I planned out this multi-stop route along the Delaware River to take the cars, kind of go racing around and stuff. So it's a 2-hour drive, basically backcountry along the river and shit. It was pretty cool. And then I had to pick the destination for us to go to. So I just found this random, 4.5 on Google rating star steakhouse, and fantastic steaks. It was in Easton, Pennsylvania, called 3 Oak. So it was a pretty good Sunday. Never go wrong with a nice fucking fat steak.
Were they Philly cheese steaks?
No. It was a fucking nice porterhouse with the single largest baked potato I've ever seen. It was a borderline pumpkin, honestly. If it wasn't fucking that it wasn't orange, it was that big.
I was actually like picturing a football, but then you went pumpkins, so
bro.
Like, oh,
Right, a big football.
You know what, man? You're absolutely right. On a football podcast, I should have won football because it was the same long, like fucking almost like a football, bro. It's tremendous. It was like the size of a forearm. Honestly, it was. I've never seen anything like it in my life.
You ever throw some sour cream on a football, man? Fucking delicious.
That's but bro, the
bacon,
the steak was top notch. I will give them the credit when credit's due. But otherwise, man, other than that, it's just work, hang out, fucking work on the renovations in the house. Look forward to talking some Giants fucking football, man. We're inside of a week to training camp, guys. Inside 1 week to training camp today.
We're gonna get there, but I had a nice little vacation, man. I went to Wildwood for the Jeep invasion. Sees all the Jeeps on the beach. Got really trashed the first day. The second day, I woke up, like me and my boy Chris, we went down to the Jeeps on the beach, checking out all the zooped up Jeeps, fucking out of control. There's one Spider-Man one fucking a Bulldog one that had like Kobe Bryant on it, which was fucking badass.
That's right.
You can check out the Instagram. I put those pictures up on there. But I tell you, the second day when we were there, we went to the beach. The sun beating down us. We're all hungover. Man, it hit me hard, man. Like all of a sudden, I had to go back in the room by like 11. I took about like 2, 3, 4 gummies the rest of the day, and I was in gummy heaven. Let me tell you, man, gummy heaven is a great place to be, man. I was chilling. I was passed out by 6 p.m. and I was ready to go home the next day, man. I was out for like fucking 16 hours, man. It felt like I was just asleep for 5 days. It was a nice fucking vacation, man. Can't wait to do it again.
Yeah.
Man, that's Jules. Like, what are we gonna do, man? What are we starting this week? We're gonna go with the offense.
Oh yeah, I'm still processing the whole gummy story, man. You got me excited. I'm about to go to my house. I'm about to eat one right now. It's just chill outside, but
I might have had a couple already.
and like like LL says, is there a lot of in the back seat of my Jeep going on when you're down there, or what?
Like my boy's married, so like he can really participate in anything. But there was girls like near what I was fucking talking to. But let me tell you, if a girl or her friend or both of them say they had multiple abortions, like
whoa.
Yeah, you kind of like stay away from that kind of trash. And they were from Pennsylvania, John. It's funny you mentioned that steakhouse. So like not.
I bet you they haven't been in 3-0. If they have, that's why they're popping their kids out.
I guess it's weird out there, out west a little bit, but
not kidding.
It's great. So like once I heard that, I was just like, and I was pretty wrecked and shit. So once I heard that, I started doing my Macho Man impersonation. I was like, "Oh yeah, you had an abortion. You had 2 abortions. Oh yeah, everybody's getting an abortion and shit." So I was just being the biggest dick in the world, and I don't know what happened. Like I didn't end up sleeping with them. I don't know where they fucking went, But it was a good trip anyway, man.
Can I just ask?
Tell me.
How did you go from stranger to her explaining to you how she had multiple abortions? How did that conversation go? Because that seems like a leap and a half for a stranger.
And quick disclaimer.
I'll tell you what.
Support or not support abortion. It's pro-choice or not pro-choice. We're not getting involved. This ain't politics, it's sports. So if anybody's offended, sorry, just pause it at the moment and we'll get back to you in a few, all right? To answer your question, John, first, they were probably Eagles fans. And listen, like whatever, like your body you do to your body, I don't give a fuck. Like, you know what I'm saying? Have 10 abortions. For all I give a shit.
And just be straight blown out.
I mean, and then she was showing like she had like this tube near her bicep, right? And I'm like, what the fuck is that? A tube, right? It was inside her arm by her bicep. See, she was saying that it stopped her from getting pregnant. I'm like,
oh, it's birth control.
Yeah, it's like a birth control, like a little.
Bro, you guys are real friendly.
I'm like, are you a fucking like RoboCop? Like robot? Yeah. I'm like, what am I feeling here? And I'm like, why don't you just make the dude wear rubber? Like, what's your fucking problem? Like, you know what I mean? Like, Jesus.
Like, oh baby, I like it raw.
Yeah, for real. She is invested in that fucking difference.
She loves getting loads shooting into her. Like,
oh,
I guess so.
Those are definitely some gems that you met. That's for sure.
I can't imagine what these creatures look like.
We're engaged now, but I mean,
doing 8 months.
You know? I'm gonna drive her to an abortion in about a week and a half.
Oh my God. She got a punch card at that place?
Jesus Christ. All right, guys, we gotta stop.
All right.
We gotta start
Let's
talking
get to the show, guys. Why don't we? Huh? So today we are definitely going to go over the offensive side of the ball, and in a way that most don't expect. Right? We're going to give some picks here. We're going to go through. We're going to figure out who we think are going to be the starters, what our starting team looks like, who we think is going to win some of those camp battles, and how it should all shape out come week 1, 2 of the season. So, Mike, come on, you came up with the idea. Why don't you start us off, Mike? What position you want to go with? How you want to start it off? Let's get this rolling.
Well, I think we should start it off real quick with the quarterback. I think we all agree it's going to be Daniel Jones is going to be the starter, okay? It's not going to be fucking Aaron Rodgers. He's not going to get traded to us, okay? Everybody's like, stop fucking going crazy with the Aaron Rodgers rumors. Like, listen, I'll be the first to say, if Aaron Rodgers had about 8 to 10 years left in his career, I'm like, yeah, go get the motherfucker. Bring him here. Let him fucking win a couple of championships with the Giants. But listen, we got Daniel Jones. He's a young quarterback. We got a young team. Everybody loves him in that building. He has franchise written all over him. He's Eli 2.0, if there even is such a thing, because Eli's God. But, let him grow with the team, and that's our guy, right? We could all agree. Does anybody have anything to say about Daniel?
The only thing I was going to add to that is I'm going to go on record and say that, and it was very similar to what I was saying last year with the whole idea of firing Gettleman and trying to kind of start over. Look, this is his year, right? Like it's a go year for him, and he deserves it. He's there. We drafted him, 6th overall, and this is it. We put a team around him, and if it works out right, this kid will take the next step, and we won't be talking about this any further, and I think he will. But you got to give him this year, and it's his year, and all that trade talk and all that bullshit, it was his fucking talk. It was nothing more than that. We've never fucking trade nothing.
No.
So, yeah, you know what, guys? Buckle up, because 2021 is going to be Daniel Jones at the quarterback, and that's that.
If it wasn't for the fact that the Giants played in New York, these stupid rumors you would never hear. If they played in fucking Oklahoma, fucking OKC type deal, you would never hear about. It would never be a thing. The same way you never hear about the Bengals and any trade rumors. It's just because it's New York. That's why you always hear these dumb fucking things. But yeah, Daniel motherfucker Jones is my quarterback.
Damn right. All right. So enough time with that. All right. So running back. Obviously, I think Barkley, this is one question, like maybe you guys go different. I believe that Barkley's going to be back, in time for week 1. If you ask me a separate question, do I think he's going to get 20 carries the first game, week 1? No, but if he's ready to come back, I think he gets the first honorary, carry for the Giants, because he's our guy. He's our offensive fucking stud.
Yeah.
I mean,
I like that idea.
I mean, listen, he's the guy. I think he'll be healthy. I think he's going to play. He won't play a full game, but I think they'll gradually guide him in the right direction to come back. And just speak off of Barkley, today, Cam Akers got hurt with an Achilles injury. He went down. He's out for the year.
Yeah, please don't fucking remind me, all right? I was all amped up. I had him as a keeper on one of my fantasy teams. I was like, I'm going to match him up with another stud running back. I'm going to be ready to go. And then I read the fucking first tweet, and I'm like, no, this didn't happen. Then the Bleacher Report came in. I'm like, no, let's just fucking do it for the year?
Dude, Jules, it brings me to this one thing. I was scrolling through Twitter. We got one of the guys that follows the BBO NYG podcast. Hopefully, I'm pronouncing his last name correctly. It's Vincent Zoller. So when Cam Akers, suffered that injury, he was like, "What's so brutal about it? I've been lectured that running backs are not only a dime a dozen, but also interchangeable." You know what I mean?
I love this guy. I don't know who he is, but I can't wait to go find him and say thank you.
Go follow him at Vincent.
Right? That's a great comment.
Great fucking comment, because listen, now all of a sudden running backs are important. Everybody's devastated with Cam Akers getting hurt. That's how we were last year when our best player went down. That got us on average 2,000 total yards. So just drop that narrative, man. He's a stud. He's back, and he's going to lead us to a title, but whatever.
I think this conversation really should be more about who we think is going to truly win that backup role. Because look, obviously a healthy Barkley is going to get it. Whether or not they're interchanging other guys in and out in week 1 or 2, just to kind of get him acclimated and back under, sort of like his sea legs, if you would, in Barkley. And plus, it's a longer season with the 17th game. So, I get it. But I think there's more of a camp battle with that backup. You can't sit here and tell me with us signing Clement and us drafting Brightwell, that Booker T, obviously we know who that is, right? I always call him Booker T, but is the bona fide backup running back. I don't know about that. I can see Corey Clement or even Brightwell, one of those guys sneaking in at some point. That's going to be one of my early season predictions because I think that could be kind of interesting to see who really ends up as the RB2.
Well, I think like when we start seeing like the preseason, the training camp and stuff, I think we'll on a future podcast, once we start seeing that and seeing the players get reps, I think we'll have, more details to talk about who we think that might be.
Yeah. I mean, because to me, that's where I would see anything with the running back. Because look, as long as Barkley's on the field in a uniform, that dude is playing. He's RB1. There ain't no fucking doubt about it. Yeah. Like, all right, like there's never a second guess on that. That dude's a stud. I love the other dude's comment about how, the running backs are interchangeable. That's fucking fantastic, all right? And you know what? Listen, maybe it might take Barkley a couple weeks to get going, but I guarantee you when he does, you're going to really see how that shit unfolds for the Giants.
That tweet was gold.
Bro. People complain about the Giants' offensive line all the time, saying, they're the 31st ranked offensive line, this, and that. The one thing is no one ever finishes the sentence. That statistic is solely based off of their pass blocking, which I'm not trying to make, all this and this and that. But the idea is they were not good at pass blocking. They gave up a lot of sacks last year, obviously. But in regards to run blocking, you get to week 5, 6, 7, 8, we started rushing the ball very well. We're on better rushing teams in the league once you got into like the second half of the season. So now you have a much better offensive line with Saquon Barkley, man. Yep. And people are going to be like, oh, okay, this is what a real generational running back looks like. We haven't seen it, so that's why people forget, and that's why this narrative is out there that it doesn't matter. But when you got a guy that can forget about just 2,000 yards. I mean, he's got a potential where you could get 2,400. Don't tell me it's impossible because other running backs have done it. And he's just as talented as anybody who's ever grabbed the fucking ball from a quarterback's hands and ran with it. So he's that type of a talent. So you got a good offensive line. You got the receivers there. Fucking Saquon's going to be fun. It's going to be a point of pride to watch this kid fucking run the ball for the New York Giants.
Well, I kind of knew John was going to go there with Saquon Barkley. All right, so now let's switch topics. We're going to move to switch positions, I should say. We're going to move to the tight end position. Guys, this is an interesting one. I'm going to be interested to see what you guys pick, but listen, I'm going to go with Double E, Evan Ingram. He's the guy that stretches the field. He's a dangerous weapon. Obviously when he could catch the ball. I know he had a bad year. He dropped a couple balls. Some were like made it more exaggerated against Philly than others because, if they won that game, blah, 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 they go to the playoffs. But that was like weeks before that anyway. But he's the guy, man. He's too talented to not be the starter. Even like, when we get down to like the goal line area, sure. Kyle Rudolph's probably going to come in. Maybe we go with like 2 tight end sets because who the hell knows, man? We got a lot of weapons. So that's who I'm going with. That's my starter.
Jules, you want to go or you want me to go? I have an interesting answer, so it's up to you. Go last. You say go with it?
Okay.
All right. So I think the Giants are going to play a lot of 2 tight end sets. So I don't know how applicable this will be on like a percentage scale, but I think they're going to try to use the players to their strengths. They have enough weapons where you don't need to, like they say, put the square peg in the round hole type deal. And I think Ingram is best utilized when he's got field in front of him. He's not that great with contested catches, obviously. So why not, if you're going to have 2 starting caliber tight ends, what about between the 20s when there's open field and you could actually use Ingram's abilities? He's getting the lion's share of the reps. But then once you get into the red zone or near the red zone or green zone, if we're going to honor Tom Coughlin, then Kyle Rudolph has taken the lion's share of the starters reps. Like I said, I think they're going to do a lot of 2 tight end sets. Probably like 30% of the time, something like that, 25, 30% of the time, you're going to see a couple guys on the field, at least, maybe even more than that. But I think between the 20s, it's going to be really heavy Ingram. And then when you're in the red zone, I think you're going to see Ingram on the sidelines, at least in the beginning of the season, and Rudolph's going to be the guy going up to catch those balls in the red zone for a touchdown.
I mean, you got to keep in mind, too, Rudolph is, I was nicknaming him Old Man Rudolph when we first signed him, right? Because he's 31 and Double E. I like that. All right, Double E is only 26. And here we are knocking a guy and saying what you want. The dude fucking made the Pro Bowl last year. All right. He literally made the fucking Pro Bowl. So say all that shit you want. And, here's the thing that a friend of ours said the other day. He said, everybody that's a fan of their team looks at their team differently. Right. And there's guys that are probably sitting somewhere in the middle of the country or on the West Coast, and they'll turn around and be like, oh, Evan Ingram's a stud. I can't believe you guys even bought in Rudolph. Right. You'll get that type of shit. I think that I could kind of see where there were games where he had a big drop or he didn't contest the ball properly, and that shit got in his head. And it took like a quarter before he forgot about that shit. Like he had a hard time doing that kind of shit. And guess what? If that is the case, well, then you bring in fucking Kyle Rudolph. You know what I mean? And like, let him chill out on the fucking sidelines for a series or two. And then he can come right back in the game. I think you're going to see a lot of that mixed in, of course, with the double tight end sets. But, what else? Drafting a receiver, signing receivers, getting a big free agent receiver. I don't know how much of that tight end set, double set you said, about 30% seems about a good number, especially with goal line or if you're deep in your own territory, because you might want to have like a little bit of extra protection, around the quarterback and everything. Maybe one of the, like Rudolph or something stays in and you get an extra blocker. It's a little bit easier to run out of that tight end set because it's more that, more versatile. So there's a couple of things with that. And I think that's really what Rudolph's usage is going to be in the extent. And then, of course, if in an injury, right? God forbid anybody gets hurt. We're going to be that kind of guys that are ready to go. And we're deep in all these type of positions.
Yeah.
So true.
I'm excited for Ingram, man. I got to say, I mean, he was a tragedy to watch last year, but if it is a question where he's mentally weak in the moment, I guess you can say, because I think that when Saquon got hurt, I think he looked at himself as like the next guy. And I think he put tried too hard essentially, and didn't play free. And that's why things happened the way they did, because he didn't have a drop problem the year before. He did when he was younger, but not necessarily, last year. The year before, I think in 2019, I don't think he had any drops. So, I want to see him now as like option 4, option 5 on the team as far as like offensive weapons, not having the pressure. He just got kind of going in there and just, free and clear, go play ball and see what you can make of yourself in a contract year. I'd like to see him have a good season from that standpoint.
Another tragedy is like Will Hernandez with the offensive line, but we'll get there. But I think first we should talk about our wide receivers, because there's some good wideouts we got here, man. We signed one, we drafted one, so we got to start 3, because most likely they're going a lot of 3 wide sets. I'm gonna have to go. My 3 guys is gonna be Kenny Golladay, obviously. I'm going to have to go with Shep because he's been here. And my 3rd guy is going to be Tony over Slayton.
Whoa.
Yeah, I think Tony, I think he might really impress. And I tell you, that's a good problem to have where you're benching Slay to be your 4th wide receiver. But listen, I don't expect in the long term for Sterling Shepard to be on the Giants past this year. If I'm being honest, I don't think that's a possibility. I could be wrong. I think, as long as Slay steps up and degress or whatever, But those are my 3 guys. I think Tony really steps up in the preseason. He comes out week 1. He's that 3rd wide out, and it's a problem for defenses to have with him, man. I'm telling you.
I think it would be Golladay, Slayton, and Shepard. I think that they're going to bring along their rookies slowly. I think that they have a team built, and they know that the chemistry between Slayton and Jones is real, and having that on the field just as a comfort, like a safety blanket, while you break in your 1st round pick. I think that's the way that they're going to be going. Maybe once you start getting into the season, they're going to be able to be creative this year. The offensive line steps up a little bit, even if they're kind of like, the 20th ranked line or something like that, pass protection wise, you're going to be able to be really creative on offense, because now you have all these weapons. You're not going to be limited to, a weak running game or whatever the story ends up being. But I think Tony will be brought along slowly. I think it'll be more.
I think more Slayton and Sterling Shepard split time. That's just what I think. That's what I think, Jules. I know you're itching.
I think I kind of agree with John here, because I kind of feel like you have that veteran presence in Slay and Shepard and Golladay, of course. And you don't have to rush the rookie. The rookie can develop. Now, look, he may develop in 3 preseason games. We don't know, right? Or he might just be ready to go after minicamp. Like, that shit could happen. It does happen. Like, maybe he's lighting up the fucking field in practice and we just don't know about it, right? So, like, you got to keep those things in mind for sure. But ultimately, yeah, you would kind of want to, like, I don't want to say, like, baby him, but you kind of want to just, like, let him get acclimated to the speed, let him get in, use him for gadget plays, and let him start getting affiliated with how the NFL is from college ball.
Jules, he's our first-round pick. I know you said
I get that, too. No, and I was going to say that. I was like, look, but he is our first-round pick. We were supposedly stoked that we got him. Apparently, Urban Meyer wanted to draft him in Jacksonville. So, like, I mean, the kid's got talent. He's going to be on the fucking field. But the other thing with that is, look, you know, Slayton, in my opinion, took a step back last year, right? And there's no guarantee that he's going to take that step forward this coming season. Shepard, look, he was a great player. I like him. You know, I like his attitude. But the dude's hurt every fucking season, man. Yeah. You know, like, bro, I don't remember the last time he played 16 games. I don't even know if he's played 14 in recent memory. You know, so, like, you know, Tony's going to be in there sooner than later, and I think that's going to be kind of what it is. But for him to be out there week 1, let's say, as that starter in that first 3 receiver set, he's going to have to shine in this preseason. If not, I would say it's more of him coming in like week 4 or 5, and then he may take over one of those spots.
Well, we all don't have to agree on everything here at the big.
Listen, let's laugh. You know what's another thing we should look at? Does John Ross even make this team?
Dude, that's a whole other conversation for another.
You know, I'm like, shit.
Dude, I don't think he does, man. I think it's Sills, man. I think David Sills fucking makes it. It looks like he's always fucking practicing with Jones. He's always on the fucking plane with him. Like, they look like they got some kind of connection right there. I don't see John Ross around, you know what I mean? So yeah, watch that, man. But we'll get there when.
Oh, of course. And then Dante Pettis, who I thought might sneak into it. But see, that's where these guys are better on special teams, and Ross has no experience on special teams.
Right.
So I would be shocked if that dude ends up getting cut.
Right. He could be an odd man out and signed in a 1-year deal. Remember, he was our third wide receiver. Remember the very first day we signed him, he's our third wide receiver. Like, what are you people talking about?
Yeah, John Ross.
Like, and that dude might not even make the team.
Right. Like, yo, it's
I mean, really, it's going to be tough. I mean, how many receivers do you think they're really going to carry?
I know.
5, maybe 6, but probably only 5.
We got Walkman,
Galladay, Shepard, Slayton, Tony's 4. It means you got one other guy. You have Austin Mack, Sills, Pettis, John Ross. 3 of those guys are going home.
Alex Bachman. Yeah, we got
Alex Bachman. Yeah.
Or some guys going.
It's great.
Squad, you know, but it's a great.
Sure,
it's
but
great,
1 or 2 of them.
It's going to make it competitive.
I love the problem.
Yeah.
Like, when's the last time we remembered having problems like that where, like, oh my God, this guy could get cut? Like, I mean, John Ross could get cut. Like, you asked me 3 years ago, John Ross is our number 1 starter if we had him back then. You know what I mean? So
last year he would have been on the field, man. Think how many games we had, because people forget when Saquon went down, the same game Shepard went down. He was down for a month. That's a huge deal. Shepard was on the field. He was catching 80% of the throws that Daniel Jones threw at him. 80%, which is a literally elite in the league. He didn't have either one of them. He had Austin Mack catching 50-yard fucking passes.
Right. CJ Board. And like, what the fuck?
CJ Board. Yeah, bro. How many snaps did they play?
Yeah.
I almost bought a jersey last year, bro. I thought Austin Mack was going to be it. No, just kidding. But
too many snaps. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, way too fucking many. Like 2 is already too many.
Right. Like, you should even, like, go home, man. Watch from the sideline. But anyway, let's take a quick commercial break. We'll be back with the offensive line starters because everybody loves the offensive line. That's a whole big topic to have. So we'll be right back on the BBO NYG podcast. All right, we are back with the BBO NYG podcast. Our next starters, there's 5 starters on the offensive line. Guys, I don't want to go first on this one. I'm going to let somebody else go because I got some interesting dynamics to go with the offensive line when we get there.
Jules, I think you go first, Jules, because you didn't go first at all.
Listen, I go first because I'm going to be the most boring one, right? Because you know, guys like Zach Fulton don't seem like they're going to sneak in there. I think Nate Solder's a backup, so I'm going to be boring. I think Will Hernandez, because that'll be the big one that, like, literally is the only one that's sort of out there. I think he wins that right guard spot. I really do. I think he steps up. Look, he understands that if he doesn't have that kind of season this year, that he's going to be nothing more than just sort of a journeyman, backup, rotational type guy for the rest of his career. So I believe, he was a second round pick. I believe that he will, if they actually do acclimate him to that right guard position, will step up and take it. And then after that, like I said, it's boring as shit because I'm going to go Nick Gates at center. I mean, who else is really going to take that spot? Nobody, right? I think LeMahieu wins the left guard. And then, of course, my two tackles, Andrew Thomas. And at the end of the day, I'm going to say Matt Pert. That's it, man. Like, I think Pert wins the job. We kind of discussed that a couple weeks back. And I remember, that when I started thinking about it, I'm like, you're right. You know what? The guy was a third-round pick. He didn't necessarily have to start as a rookie. But you know what? By year 2 or 3, we were probably looking to have this guy as one of our tackles. And when you have Nate Solder, that's like pretty much your main competition, if you're going to be that kind of an NFL player, you should be able to beat out Nate Solder for that starting job. Whether or not Nate Solder works in, whether or not he's the backup on both right and left side, that's all two different things. But I really think it's going to be kind of plain, boring, vanilla ice cream style where I think Will Hernandez will win that right guard. LeMahieu stays at left, Gates stays at center, and Pert steps up at the right tackle spot. And Andrew Thomas is a Pro Bowler, of course.
The other day on the Giants website, they have like that Giants Huddle podcast. And, in the last few weeks, they've been having like the guys on the roster actually on the podcast. And it was, I think 2 or 3 episodes ago, they had Shane Lemieux, Nick Gates, and Will Hernandez on the podcast. And Will was right out in the open saying that he's been playing right guard. Like that's his position now. It doesn't even sound very much like there's going to be a competition. Wow. Probably yes. But I think if everybody in an organization, the guys themselves, the Judge and Gettleman and everybody else, I think they want to go to sleep thinking that when they wake up on September 12th, it's Thomas, Lemieux, Gates, Hernandez, Pert as the top 5 guys, the from left to right playing the first, the starters for week 1. And Hernandez pretty much admitted as much. So.
Wow. That's it. All right. Well, there you go. Supports my fucking whole prediction right there.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm right with you. That's exactly, bro. I mean, think about it. Thomas is what, 23? Lemieux is probably the same age. Gates, I think, is 25. Hernandez is 25. Pert's like 22. Something. Bro, these guys are so fucking young, man. They're all going to be, other than Hernandez, they're all going to be here for years to come. There could be something special on an offensive line, man. Maybe you got to replace one of the guards, whether it's Lemieux because he sucks or Hernandez next year if he leaves. But one guard you can get. I think you have the 2 tackles, and I think you have the center down. I think that those three are going to be good players for the Giants. And then it's just a question of Lemieux growing, developing, and then figuring out that other guard spot for 2022. But I think for the next few years, those guys, you get used to seeing them on the field.
Yeah, Lemieux is definitely a question mark. But let me start with mine. Like, John, you were saying Will Hernandez, he came out, he said he was very sick last year. He just wasn't into it. His body didn't feel great. That's why I do think especially after talking with you, Jules, like you're saying, he was definitely training on the right side. He's going to be our right guard, like we mentioned on the podcast a few weeks back. And I guess that's going to be the right guard, his position. I think he could be a monster there. I think we'll be set there in that position. But right next to him, yeah, I agree. Matty, Pert, he should be the guy, beating Nate Solder. But I think it's going to be a close competition in training camp, which is good. I think to have Nate Solder, an experienced guy that has had a year off. He's fully healthy. His kid's doing great, so I think his head's back in the game. He's a good guy to have in case something happens or a guy needs a breather or whatever to come out for either the left side or the right side. I think he's right there, in line with. It should be a good camp battle with him. I'm interested to see that. Thomas, he's our left tackle. That goes without saying. He's our stud there. That dude played on a bum ankle for the entire year. Never said a word. Didn't complain. Still had great games. Can you imagine him fully healthy, which is just going to be a monster. Another great draft pick by Dave Gettleman, by the way.
Respect the Ghetto God.
Respect the Ghetto God. Now, this is where I'm going to get a little crazy. I know I mentioned this on the pod before, but Shane Lemieux, listen, he was a higher round draft pick, or later round, I should say.
I think 6.
Yeah, like I don't like he's a monster. Like, let me say it out loud. He's a big fucking dude. I tell you, but they want him starting at left guard. I still find that a little suspect. Like, I just I'll believe it when I see it. I'm hoping it happens. Like, like it's just what it like just what it is. Like, you could always hope for something, but I think it's gonna be. I think Nick Gates moves from center to left guard, fills that spot up because Gates could play anywhere, and he's just an absolute monster. And I think he's the leader on the offensive line. I think Lemieux needs maybe a little bit more time. So Gates goes left guard, and then I'm going to go with Jonathan Harrison that we signed from the Jets as the starting center. We signed him very early in free agency, like very early. He was like the first guy signed. Like they wanted him like bad. Like they wanted him in a Giants uniform, which got me thinking like maybe they really want to have that competition out. Maybe he's our starting center, and then Lemieux comes along, or even Fulton. Like maybe Fulton steps up and becomes a guard. I mean, we don't. Was that Zach Fulton, by the way? But so we don't really know because we're not in training camp yet. But that's how I'm going to predict my offensive line: Thomas, Gates, Harrison, Hernandez, and Matty P.
Listen, one thing also to keep in mind too is you don't need these guys to all be all pro fucking linemen. You know what I mean? When one or two guys end up being all pro, that makes the entire unit that much better, right? Because they could compensate for what's going on that offensive line as far as picking up blitzes and blocking and switching things around. So I think that LeMahieu may not be an all pro left guard, but because he played the position there last year, and I mentioned this in the other podcast, previous podcast, where Will Hernandez is supposed to be the better athlete, it's easier for him to switch the position than the guy that was sort of thrown into that left guard position last year, and that's what he played. So let's just keep it as it is, and we know what we're going to get out of him, and we know that he might be a little bit better of a run blocker than he is a pass blocker, or vice versa. And they're gonna adjust to that, right? Maybe there's a lot more tight end sets where they're on the left side, right, and especially when they're in double tight. So that brings in that extra blocker to kind of give a little bit more help. You're going to have Thomas healthy this year. So that should be a bigger help, right? If you're going to have sort of like a question at right tackle, right, so to speak, right now, we don't know how much Purt's going to develop. You don't want to put another guy that might not be as strong at right guard, right? That's gonna poke holes on the right side. So that's why I think they kind of broke it up in the way they're doing it. Should LeMahieu be a guaranteed bona fide left guard starting, week one? That's it. It's his position. No, but at this current moment, it's his position to lose in camp and in preseason. You know what I mean? Like he is the starter. It's all up to him here. And unless he really shits the bed, I wouldn't see how else he wouldn't make that left guard spot.
The general rule of thumb, if you listen to I listen to a lot of podcasts, just different ones from different executives through the years. And one of the big things they say is you don't need 5 all pros to make a good offensive line. You need 2 really good offensive linemen, and then 3 guys who don't lose you games. You need 3 serviceable guys and 2 really good guys, and then you're fine. So if even if Lemieux could be a 72 overall, if you want to use a Madden type of deal, doesn't have to be good. 25th, 28th, 35th best guard in the league. Sure, just be middle of the road, be serviceable. Let the other guys be, what makes the line special. Thomas, Pert, Gates, let those guys be the guys, and then the other 2 just
be on the same page.
Yeah, exactly. Communication wise and all that stuff. Hey, listen, if you 5 want to go out there and become 5 fucking rhinoceroses for the offensive line, go fucking right ahead. We'll welcome it with open arms. But just don't cost the team games, because really everywhere else on this roster, there's a lot to be excited about. You can go position by position, and unless you choose to harp on the negative, there is a lot to be excited about literally all over the entire roster. So as long as they don't fuck it up, we should have some fucking fun, man, in the next few years.
I love that. So should we start naming our team, our starters for? You want to go through?
I already mentioned my starting line, my starting offensive line right there. I'm not putting Mike Glennon at quarterback. That ain't fucking happening. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you got Jones, Saquon, and Ingram.
That's Mike the alien Glennon, but but yeah, and then after that, like I said, to me, it was more about the backups. I just think that that's going to be where a lot of the camp battles are going to be won. Could Tony end up taking that third spot or a second receiver or a slot receiver, whatever the fuck you want to call him? Yeah, eventually. Do I think he takes it week 1? No, I don't. I really don't. I think, look, if you're Slayton or Shepard, even in a contract year, you got to step the fuck up this year, man, because like, you're playing for your careers, right? Like if Slayton gets blown off the map, and, all of a sudden Tony's in that spot and you have Shepard and Galladay and Slayton becomes an afterthought. Who's to say he's staying around? We might have just fucking cutting him next year, right? Obviously I'm getting a little crazy, but
this is blasphemy right now. I can't take it.
No, I'm just saying it's reality. Like, it's a good thing. One of the problems that have been with the Giants have been plaguing us for the last couple of seasons, in all seriousness, is that the wide receiver position had not been able to stay healthy. Think about it for a few, like these guys have been getting banged up. Slayton, I don't care what you say. I love the guy to death, but he's not a true number 1 wide receiver in the NFL, at least not yet. At least not yet, right? Maybe he could step up. I don't know. So when he had to get, pushed into that role, he didn't perform, so he's not that kind of guy. So now he's fighting to be that number 2, number 3 receiver on this team. And, when you bring in a kid like Tony with all the talent and ability he has, he could lose that spot. You bought a Galladay, and now you got Shepard in the contract year. So I think a lot of craziness could happen in that wide receiver. But like I said, I think Slayton and Shepard and Galladay are the starters, week 1. And then, of course, Barkley, like I said, will be on the field taking the first snap of that offense for 2021. All right? Enough said.
I like that. All right. Well, listen, I'll go through my team real quick. It's Jones. It's Barkley. My 3 wideouts, Galladay, Shep, Tony, tight end, double E, Evan Ingram. My offensive line, Matty P, Hernandez, Harrison, Gates, and Thomas. And, sky's the limit for this team, man. Like, let's see what we could do.
It's just fun to have good players again, man. Like knowing, like without shadow of a doubt, that there's good players on this team. It's not Hope. It's not this. Galladay is a fucking good receiver. You just know that. You know what you're getting in Rudolph. You know what you're getting in Jabril Peppers and fucking Blake Martinez and Leonard Williams and James Bradbury and Logan Ryan. You know you're getting quality football from a lot of places on this roster. And the only thing left to be said, in my opinion, is respect the Ghetto God. Because he's the reason why we're here right now, getting excited. 6 days. Let's see. Let me give you an exact. Assuming they start the clock at 8 a.m. on the 27th, we are 6 days, 10 hours, and 58 minutes away. 6 days, 10 hours away.
Let's do it.
From seeing some Giants helmets.
And John, I'm glad you went through the defense, because for our listeners, we will go through the defense next week. That's what next week's episode is going to be. And I'm going to throw in a little bit of a segment there. We're going to do bold predictions, because I got a huge one for you guys on defense. But I'm going to save that for next week. I got a huge bold prediction that I'm going to share with you guys. All right. It might upset John. John might have to, take a couple of hits of that pipe before when I go to say it. Because it's not going to be a pretty one. All right. But
all right.
I'll tell you right now, I can see something.
So for a proper tease,
can't wait.
Right? We'll say just the tip. We'll just say it's like that. Mm-hmm. What player does it have to do with? No other details.
Or if I tell you what I think the circumstances surrounding this player could end up being?
I think that's too much. That's a full thrust.
It's too much.
I think it probably will give away who the player might be.
True, but maybe
so at least if we just give the player, we won't know what the negative bold prediction that you're going to say is. We'll have no idea.
It's not negative, but I know you're not. You're going to just I know you don't like to hear that kind of talk, but it could end up making a lot of sense. And I'll leave it at that. It will be a player from the secondary.
Ooh. Okay, that's good. I like that. In the secondary.
I thought about it. I let the fucking hamster roll around in the head for a little bit. That's all right. We can do it that way. It will be in the secondary for sure.
Julian, are you saying, or Jules, are you saying that I might not love the thing that you're going to say?
Yeah, definitely not.
Oh, no.
But like,
Julian, I'm pulling for you, whatever it is.
I understand where I'm coming from. And again, it's one of those bold predictions, right? Because I would say probably like 70% of the time, anytime he throws out a bold prediction, that shit never really comes true anyway. So it's definitely that type of premise to go with it, you know what I mean? But
when you're right,
we all do it, man. So let's keep that in mind for next week, all right?
That's it. That's a teaser alert.
There's the teaser for next week for sure. And we also got into works. We want to just kind of like just sort of set the tone on this. We're putting together the details. We're actually going to have a guest come on in about 2 weeks. And we're going to actually put together a sort of tournament style pick'em type of games for the NFL season. And of course, it's very raw right now. The details are being worked out as we speak, but it's going to be through one of our affiliates and websites and everything else. And they got a good thing going on. And we're going to go into more details in the next 2 weeks. So that will be an even bigger tease next week. And then the following week, we're going to go in strong with a lot of details. So that's something to look forward to. As I mentioned before, we definitely have some guests coming on. We're going to probably have some former players coming on. And then before you guys know it, man, the season is here and it will be upon us. All right, John, how much longer we got to the actual kickoff of the season?
The kickoff of the season. This is to kickoff, like literally to the minute 4:25. Right now we have 53 days, 19 hours, 20 minutes, and 28 seconds.
There it is.
The Graham Gano's boot.
There it is. We are literally less than 2 months away. All right, folks. Like this shit's getting real.
Bro, can I say something that should have been said this entire offseason and we'll sign off?
Yeah.
We have Graham Gano, man. He's one of the best kickers in the league. With Saquon back, get 15, 20 more yards of drive, and we're going to be fucking kicking field goals when we can't score touchdowns. We're going to score fucking 40 points a game, man. Let's fucking go home.
Yeah, listen, like we'll have an episode where we have the special teams where we guess the kicker, the punter, and the holder. But the kicker, man, I'm gonna have a surprise.
Oh, here we go, another tease. Maybe we'll put the special teams into next week's episode with the defense.
We could do that. It's only 4 players, so 3 players.
I mean, I think we all know who that kicker is. Like, there's no surprises. I'm just fucking around.
Hey, listen, we all thought, what was it? Rojas was our kicker last year, and then look what happened to that crazy maniac, right?
Well, I know.
I wonder if he ever got it back in the NFL.
Yeah, he's not gonna fucking drive drunk, fucking through a neighborhood and fucking run around bloody with his bare fucking.
That's crazy. I hope they do a 30 for 30 on him one day.
Maniac, yeah.
I would love that, man. Rojas, you don't give a fuck.
But listen, I think that pretty much wraps us up for this week's episode. Like I said, stay tuned. Next week, we're going to go through the defense. We're going to maybe even mention some special teams. Fuck it. We could talk about some returners that we might think win the job as far as the punt and kickoff returners are concerned. You know, and I said we have some guests coming on, and then we are coming up with an in-season special contest. Details to follow in the upcoming weeks, but just putting that on your radar. We'll give you all the information. It's a very good site. We're going to get into details in the next couple of weeks for sure, but just keep that in mind because we're going to give away some cool prizes and stuff with that. But with that said, listen, you go to catch us on our Twitter handle at BBONYG Podcast. You can catch Mike Trainer at Mike Trainer MFT. You can catch John at New NYG Slap Paraded. You know, you can catch me, Jules NYC1. Yes, we're all New York all the time. BBONYG Podcast. And we are out for this week.
Peace.